And here, dear listener, is a very special, moderately secret bonus track. It is a poem which has very little to do with Christmas and everything to do with the search for meaning. It is titled simply, Beaten to Pulp, by me, Byron Bard. I woke up and peeled myself off the desk. The morning sun slapped me across the face like a jealous lover. I looked around at my office, messier than a barbarian's bachelor party. Papers camped out all over the floor, laying siege to the water cooler. Coffee pot burning its steam of black sobriety into the dusty air. I ignored it and twisted my mind back to front to read the letters etched in reverse on the frosted glass of my office door. Byron Bard, poetic investigator. No case too ineffable. Existential uncertainties a speciality. I opened a drawer, grabbed a bottle, and poured myself 3 fingers of liquid purgatory. The whiskey hit me like a warm knife in the gut. I let the pain and the cynicism and the goddamned world-weariness wash over me like a river of darkness, and waited for the world to beat a path to my door. It didn't take long. At noon, the door swung open and ushered in a dame. She glided her way up to my desk with a salacious whisper of silk. I took off my hat and stared my way up a dress filled with more goodies than a Rockefeller's Christmas bonbon, and into a face that looked like it was stolen from a falling angel. She sat down and shot me a .44 caliber look. I returned fire and waited for her to speak. She did. "Mr. Bard," she said with a voice like golden wheat with the husk left on. "I'm told that you're the best." I was too polite to contradict and treated her to a slow, modest nod. "I need you to find something for me." A pregnant pause barged its way between us, pointing apologetically at its belly. She pushed it aside and said, "I'm looking for meaning." I chewed down and swallowed a laugh. "You and me both, lady, and the whole damn city besides. What makes you think I can find it for you?" She pulled a dainty hand out of its silk holster and pointed to the door. "No case too ineffable, Mr. Bard." She took the other glove off and leaned across the desk to straighten my tie. "Besides," she insinuated, "I can guarantee that you'll find me most grateful." I brushed her off like yesterday's caviar and put my hat back on. "Lady, I took the case before you walked in here." I walked to the door and invited her to scram. $20 a day, plus expenses. She smiled and nodded, left through the door, and said, "Good luck." "It's for amateurs," I lied, and closed the door on the fatal femme. I was on the case. I shook the lust off me like a wet dog coming in from the rain, and made a start. Meaning? I'd been searching for that slippery customer my whole life and never found it. I looked through my files and called a few of the usual suspects. Shakespeare tried to sell me a line about beauty and nobility, but I wasn't buying. Dunn said Plato had it. Plato said Socrates had it. Socrates said he was glad I asked the question, but he didn't have the answer. I thumbed through my address book and tried again. Pythagoras said it was all in the angle. I told him I'd shiv him with a compass if he pulled that baloney on me again. Descartes told me that meaning was molded by perception. I told him he wasn't thinking. He agreed, and the phone suddenly went dead. I thought I had a lead when Heisenberg said Schrödinger had it trapped in a box, but when he came back on the line he said it was dead, or maybe alive, and he had scared it by looking, and it had crawled off in a different direction. The Dalai Lama said that searching was finding. Too convenient. The Archbishop of Canterbury seemed uncomfortable with the question and stuttered like a stalling Bentley. The guy had squat. I was close to giving up when the phone rang. I picked it up cautiously and heard a droning voice say, "Drop the case, Mr. Bard. You will not find meaning, for there is none to be found." "Who the hell is this?" I demanded. There was a meaningless silence, and then, "We are the nihilists. Drop the case." Or what? Or nothing. The line went dead, and the threat hung in the air like a swarm of vindictive wasps. I grabbed it and rolled it up into a ball of determination. I was onto something. Time to do it the old-fashioned way. I left my office to hit the bars. Rain was falling on the city, not quite managing to wash it clean. I looked up at the clouds and down at the ground, but I couldn't find a single drop of meaning. Neither could anyone else in this city. I plunged from dive to dive, the sound of a meaty, melancholy sax following me everywhere I went, mocking me. I was ready to call it a day when I heard a dull voice behind me. "We told you to drop it, Bard. Now we'll have to drop you." I turned around and saw two goons in grey, one with a baseball bat, the other holding a foot of lead pipe. I looked straight into their cold, dead eyes and said, "Nihilists, huh? Going to rough me up a little?" The biggest one shook his head slowly. "Going to rough you up a lot." I was in deep dada. I put my hands up. Okay. Just answer me this. Why bother? Discuss, making particular reference to Nietzsche's position of Gott ist tot. The big apes started arguing with each other like sophistic sloths. I snuck away and left them to their debate. My mind was on fire. I doused it with a bucket of sang-froid, straightened my hat, and got ready to meet the big break I knew was waiting for me around the corner. I turned into an alley and found a bar reeking of incense and ambrosia. I went in, and there they were. Jesus was turning wine into water. Moses was talking to a flaming cocktail. Muhammad was hard to picture, but I could see Buddha clearly shoveling peanuts into his mouth. Richard Dawkins was sitting in the corner, all on his lonesome. I looked around at the crowd of gods and prophets, put my fingers in my mouth, and whistled. 100 omniscient eyes looked right back at me. "I've had a bad day, so let's keep this quick. Which one of you no-good bums is going to tell me where I can find meaning?" The room went silent. They stared at me for a full minute. Then it started. Jesus cast the first bottle, Satan got himself behind me, and L. Ron Hubbard tried to hook me up to some kind of device. I was surrounded, but like I said, I'd had a bad day, and was in no mood to be messed with. 5 minutes later, I searched their broken, bleeding, unconscious bodies. Not a one of them had it. No meaning. I hung my head like a condemned sheep thief and staggered back to the office. Sitting in my chair, flanked on either side by the two grey-faced nihilist goons, smiling like a Cheshire cat who'd just gassed a canary, was the dame. Her pale hands came together in a round of sardonic applause. "Well done, Mr. Bard. You quite exceeded our expectations." I batted both eyelids and mumbled, "I couldn't find it. No meaning." Her laugh cut through me like a euphonious bandsaw. "Exactly. And if Byron Bard cannot find it, it doesn't exist." She flicked a C-note onto my desk. "You've earned a little bonus." I stared at her, not speaking. "You've freed us all from the tyranny of meaning, of significance, of purpose. A very tidy day's work, wouldn't you agree?" Her smile stiffened, her eyes grew hard, and she leaned forward. "Join us, why don't you? What else do you have left?" I looked at the money and the cold eyes of the stunning she-devil, and it all flowed back. The pain, the cynicism, the goddamned world-weariness. I grabbed the money and left the dame, and walked out into the city. This city like a powder keg. This city like a madhouse. I walked out into this city like a woman, to walk these mean streets alone.